Today's case takes us to Guyana, a small South American nation nestled between Venezuela and Suriname, where the Atlantic Ocean brushes its northern coast and colonial towns sprawl into emerald rainforests. In 1969, this seemingly peaceful country became the hunting ground for one of the most elusive child killers the region has ever known. Over the course of just 14 months, a growing list of children vanished, many never to be seen alive again. Their bodies would be found days or weeks later, bound, bruised, dumped in canals, sugarcane fields, and trenches. They were often boys, mostly of Indo-Guyanese descent, and the horror of their deaths was matched only by the silence surrounding them. What followed was a slow-building nightmare, a public too afraid to speak, a press that mocked the panic, and a police force that initially denied anything was wrong. Until one man was finally caught, but justice, in the end, never came. This is the story of Harrynauth Beharry, of children failed by institutions, of a country that tried to forget, and of a series of murders that remain, to this day, some of the most disturbing in Caribbean history. April 1969. A small body, bobbing gently in the current, is found near Bushy Park, East Bank, Essequibo, half hidden by reeds. When pulled from the water, the child's hands and feet are bound. Her name is Basmati. She was just 8 years old. She had vanished from Anna Catarina, a coastal village on the west coast of Demerara, almost a month earlier. March 20th was the last time anyone saw her, walking alone to school. Witnesses remember seeing her talking to a strange man, tall, bearded, unknown to the village. Authorities could not identify the killer. They offered no warning to the public. Days later, another child would be found. The pattern, it turns out, began even earlier. On August 30th, 1968, 15-year-old David Bacchus disappears from the neighborhood of Tocqueville, a short walk from the Georgetown city center. He had gone to buy parts for his bicycle. 2 weeks later, his body is pulled from a trench in Liliendal. His limbs are tied. There is no suspect. Weeks later, 11-year-old Mohammed Fazil Nasir goes missing from number 78 village on the Corentyne coast. He had gone out for a walk. Days pass, then weeks. Finally, his decomposed body is found in a trench at Plantation Skeldon near the sugar factory. Once again, no answers. Despite these deaths, the police make no public statements. The cases are treated as separate tragedies. But in village after village, the unease is growing. Children are disappearing, and something about the way they're being found feels intentional, even ritualistic. As 1969 unfolds, the number of murdered children continues to rise. Panic begins to spread, especially across Indo-Guyanese communities along the coast. Rumors swirl of a child catcher working across regions, luring children with sweets, toys, or small errands. The government responds not with action, but suppression. Police Commissioner Carl Austin publicly denies any link between the deaths. He insists there is no serial killer, no kidnapper, no reason for alarm. A 19-year-old man is even arrested and jailed for spreading panic by talking about a child murderer in public. The media joins in the dismissal. A biting editorial in the Guyana Graphic, written by editor Carl Blackman, ridicules the rumors. He calls the supposed killer a cross between Dracula and a slapstick comedian, and mocks the fear as hysteria. But then comes a murder no one can ignore. October the 20th, 1969. The decapitated body of 12-year-old Mohammed Faisal is discovered in a trench in Crabwood Creek. His head has been cleanly removed. He was last seen walking to school. Now, people begin to connect the dots. In the weeks that follow, more bodies emerge. 14-year-old Jagdeo Jagrup is found in a trench in Mahaika. His hands and feet are tied. Then, Mohammed Nizam Ali is discovered face down in a drain. His body shows signs of force, his face pressed into the mud until he's suffocated. The pattern becomes clear. The victims are almost all boys, all between the ages of 7 and 15. Most are Indo-Guyanese. Their bodies are found near water, canals, trenches, shallow drains. The brutality is escalating. The Mahasabha, a prominent Hindu religious organization, sends formal concerns to Prime Minister Forbes Burnham. For the first time, officials admit there may be something to the panic. But still, no one is arrested. The killer is hiding in plain sight. In October 1969, a breakthrough comes, by accident. A brown yachting boot is found near a crime scene in Thomas Lands. Someone recalls a man seen lurking in the area, asking for work. They give police a name, Harry Rambaran. But he has many names. In some places, he calls himself Harrynauth Beharry. Elsewhere, Charles Bissoon, or Anant Paso, or Maka Anant. He is a drifter, wandering across regions, staying in cane fields and makeshift shacks. He is known to local police in Georgetown. He once served a year in prison for gross indecency, a sexual offense. He was released in March 1969, just days before Basmati was murdered. Witnesses say he often walked with a limp, wore a hat pulled low, sometimes squinted from one eye. He approached homes, asking to cut grass, weed gardens, dig drains, always lingering too long when children were near. But despite the boot and the suspicions, he is not found. He vanishes again until the end of the year. December the 31st, 1969. Another child is missing. His name is Harrynauth, sometimes called Paulton. He is found days later in a canal near Maheka. In Grove Village, 7-year-old Orlando Guthrie is seen walking with a stranger. He never returns. His mother searches in vain. It is later reported that Bihari had been spotted near the area, offering to do yard work. The disappearances continue into early 1970. Parents are terrified. Children are kept indoors. But Bihari remains at large, drifting between villages, posing as a harmless laborer. Authorities are finally searching, but they are always just behind him. Until June. In June 1970, Bihari walks into a yard in Grove, East Bank Demerara. He asks a man if he can cut the grass. The man agrees, but watches closely. Something feels wrong. The cutlass is dull, untouched. The man is limping. That night, a child disappears from the area. Days later, the same man spots Bihari emerging from a dam in Houston, his clothes soaked. He alerts a local sergeant, but is ignored. Refusing to give up, he finds another officer, Detective Constable James Brown. Brown, just 25, listens. And when the man points out Bihari near Princess Street in Charlestown, Brown gives chase. The suspect bolts. Brown, a trained runner, catches him. Bihari is arrested. He trembles when he sees the same man who called him out. At the station, he breaks down. He confesses. He leads them to where Orlando Guthrie's body was left, behind Diamond Estate, floating in a trench. Then to other burial sites, other victims, other truths long buried. On April 3rd, 1970, just months after his arrest, Harrynauth Beharry is found hanged in his prison cell. The official ruling is suicide. There is no trial, no full investigation, no formal acknowledgement of how many children he truly killed. No final count of the lives he ended. For some, his death was a relief. For others, it meant the truth would never come to light. In just over a year, at least 8 children, possibly many more, were taken, abused, and murdered by a man who walked among them unnoticed. He was a drifter, a predator, a shapeshifter who exploited trust, poverty, and silence. And in the end, he never faced justice. Families were left with grief, unanswered questions, and memories that could never be buried deep enough. In times of fear and confusion, it's not always easy to see what's happening until it's too late. What matters now is remembering the lives that were lost, not as names in an old file, but as children with futures stolen. Their stories deserve to be told, not to reopen wounds, but to make sure they are not forgotten. This was the story of Harrynauth Beharry, and of the children whose voices were silenced, but whose lives still matter.